Hello and welcome to episode 11 of 10,000 Stitches podcast, a weekly chit chat all about the joys of sock knitting. I'm recording this on February 14th, Sunday, so happy Valentine's Day, even though it will not be Valentine's Day by the time this gets uploaded and posted and everything, but still. Speaking of that, I'm planning on posting this episode on Tuesday, February 16th. I normally post on Wednesdays, but I'm thinking about switching it up, so we'll see. I'm just trying it out this week, so expect to see this at the earliest on Tuesday. My name is Andy, and I love knitting socks. Where you can find me on the interwebs. So I am on various social media as Purlbug, P-U-R-L-B-U-G. That's Instagram, Ravelry, and Twitter. Although on Twitter I usually just post stupid 140 character quips about things that are annoying me, so Instagram and Ravelry are the best places to see any knitting related stuff. We also have a group on Ravelry, the 10,000 Stitches podcast group, and there's my blog, thepurlbug.com. Depending on where you're watching this will determine where you can find links to applicable patterns, shops, other podcasts I talk about, anything that I can link to will be in those notes. If you are watching this on YouTube, in the description box below there will be a link to the blog post for this episode and a link to the Ravelry group. In the blog post underneath the video there will be all applicable links. Also in the Ravelry group, in the thread for this episode underneath the video will also be all of those links. So basically the only place they aren't is on YouTube because that just gets really long. Yeah. I'm recording this earlier in the day than I usually do, so the lighting might be a little bit different than usual. And I'll talk a little bit about that in my chit chat at the end, but my schedule's a little funny today. So, alright, so things to talk about today. I don't have a finished object to show this week, so I have a work in progress. I'll talk a little bit about upcoming socks, just a little bit about the Knitalong, and also another giveaway that I'll talk about later. And then I got a question about my tattoo that I will talk a little bit about, and then I'll do my regular sort of chit chat. And also, how cute is this? So these are, I wrote this on this little note paper that I got from Target like forever ago, and it's this little cat notepad, and it's so cute, and I'm gonna be so sad when it runs out, but I'm trying to like use it up and not hoard it because it's so cute that it has to be used. Anyway, so yeah, work in progress. These are, I think I already had these started last week, but these are these socks, which I've realized I keep saying the name wrong, and I'm going to go open the shades up and see if I can maybe get some more light in here, because I feel like I'm in a shadow. Let's try and get some more light. Maybe that'll help. Anyway. I think I had started these already last week when I recorded, and I realized I keep saying the name wrong. It is Socken Garippa, and I keep leaving out that E in the middle. But anyway, this is kind of what they look like. These are socks for my mother's man friend, who I knit Christmas socks for him. Let's try and angle ourselves towards the window again. So I had knit him socks for Christmas, and these are just another pair of socks for him because I thought that they would be good for him. These are 72 stitches using that pattern, although I modified it for the 72 stitch sock because I think it's written for a 64 stitch sock, but it's a small modification. I'm only doing the patterning on the front side, the back side is completely plain, and these were knit on size 1s, which are 2.25 millimeter needles, and they're knit with Patton's Croy FX in the casual colors. So this one is done except for the heel because I'm doing an afterthought heel on these. So this tube is done. And then the other one I am on my last pattern repeat, and then I just need to do the toe and then that will be done. So these are top down. I knit like I think 10 stitches of just 2x2 rib, and then I started into the pattern. So I wanted to have this done by today. You know, I like to have one pair done a week. But I just wasn't in the mood to knit yesterday. Like, you know how you have those days where you just have other things that you want to be doing other than knitting? I had one of those days. So, you know, it happens. I probably will get this finished up by the end of the day tonight. So, you know, it'll be done by the time you see this, although I'm not sure that I'll have the heels done because I mentioned this last week, but I want to film a tutorial on how I do my afterthought heels. So, I'm I'm not going to post that inside of a podcast episode. That will be uploaded as a separate video because I think it's going to get long, and I also want it to be kind of a standalone thing so that if someone's looking for just that, they don't have to like skip midway through a podcast episode. So I'm going to try and get that filmed this week. I want to maybe try and do it like when I'm at work and I have a little bit of time, you know, not where I don't have to be working. Like I talked about that last week where, you know, some of my days at work get really long, so I'll take like breaks where I'm not working. So I might do it then because then I have like stands where I can like put my phone on them and stuff and be able to get a good angle. But yeah, I mean, these are coming along pretty well. My only complaint is that I really wish the colors were more vibrant in this yarn. And of course, I don't know how well it's showing up on screen, but it's, you know, it's just blues and browns, and I wish there was more to it. Like I feel like on this one, the colors are a little bit more vibrant. Like the blues are a little brighter and the browns are a little oranger. But just in general, I feel like this sock is just like the colors are very muddy. And I don't love it. But I mean, they're nice like masculine colors, so I can't complain too much about that. But yeah, otherwise these are coming along just fine. Just 72 stitch socks are just exhausting. Like it's just, it feels like there's just so much more knitting that has to be done. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. And I've realized, you know, I don't know why the afterthought heel doesn't get used more, because, you know, it's just as, it gives you the same fit pretty much as a fish lips kiss heel, and everyone is just, you know, losing their minds over the fish lips kiss heel, except that you don't have to do it while you're knitting. Like at no point do I have to sit and think, oh, it's heel time, I have to do a heel now. I just knit a big tube, and then I know that I can do the heel later, wherever it needs to be. And so I like afterthought heels. I think they're great, but it is kind of a pain to know that like when you're done, you're not actually done. You have to go back and do a heel. But yeah, like I said, I'll try and get a tutorial done for that when I get to that on these. So that's that. So yeah, so let's talk about what's upcoming. So I know for the past couple weeks I've been saying that I'm going to be doing the Dracker socks by Sockmatician, and I'm not sure that that's going to happen now, and let me explain why. So, you know, obviously I hadn't expected these socks to take more than a week because I was like, oh, they're so easy. You know, they're supposed to be kind of a break, but then I just kind of, you know, didn't want to knit for a day or two. And so now those are taking longer than I planned, which means that I don't have, I didn't build a lot of wiggle room into my schedule. Like I had planned on a pair of socks per week. So, you know, having one take me over a week means that then I'm eating into time for another pair. And the way I'm doing this is like I pick out my socks, you know, for these 2-month segments, you know, based on the theme. So like ribbing, you know, cables, etc., etc. And at the end of that time, if like I fall behind or something and I don't get a pair done, I'm just declaring bankruptcy at that point. Like I'm not going to carry them over, because I feel like that will just get really discouraging, because then that will just propagate through, you know, the next cycle, and then I'll be behind, and then, you know, it'll just keep falling more and more behind, and that will just get discouraging, and then I won't want to do it anymore. So I figure at the end of each 2-month cycle, if I don't make it to a pattern, okay, I'm moving on. You know, I'm not going to dwell on that, and I'm just going to move on and do something else. So I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to get through 2 more pairs of socks that I had planned for this 2-month cycle. And the Dracker socks I was going to knit for myself, and I would much rather get rid of those than get rid of the other pair that I was going to do, which are for my little brother. So I think I'm going to do the ones for my little brother first, and then if I have time, I'll do the Dracker socks, but I just don't think I'm going to wind up with time for it. So the next pair of socks are going to be the Syncopation socks, and I don't know, I forget who that's by. I have my cue on here. Those are by Mary Henniger. And of course I'll link that in the notes. But those are a pretty basic, it's kind of like a basic like 3x1 rib pattern, but like a broken 3x1 rib pattern. So I'm knitting those for my little brother. He's younger than me, but he is certainly not smaller than me. And to prove that point. So this is the cardboard cutout for my foot, and I have a big foot. This is 26.5 centimeters long. I wear women's size 9.5 or 10 here in the States. This is my little brother's foot. So they're lined up heel to heel. His foot is longer than mine by a couple centimeters, and it is much wider. So you can see he has a much bigger foot than I do. So yeah, like knitting him a pair of socks is gonna be no small feat. Haha, small feet pun. Oh, great. Anyway, so I will be making him a pair of socks next, and I'm gonna be using the Patents Croy socks in the Gentry gray color, which is a nice sort of charcoal gray. It's showing up black here, but it's definitely a charcoal kind of gray. And yeah, and the reason I really didn't want to cut his socks out is because he's very knit worthy. You know, we're pretty close. Like we're less than 2 years apart in age, so we've always been really close. And he has found out recently that he has to have surgery again for something that he shouldn't have to have surgery for. And so, you know, I mean, it is what it is. Like, he's not too down in the dumps about it, but like, I just feel like, you know, I want to send him a nice pair of socks and be like, here, dude, at least your feet will be comfortable. So I want to make sure I get these knit for him rather than knitting a pair of socks for myself, which would be the case with Dracker socks. So these will be coming up next, and these are going to be shorter socks again. I mean, I make all of my socks pretty short. Like, someone asked me in the Ravelry group, like, how long I make my socks, like the leg on my socks, and I only make the leg on my socks about half the length of the foot. Part of that's because I have such a big foot, but part of it's because, let's see if I can get my foot up here. So, like, this is the top of my blueberry waffle socks, and that's about the height that I like it. You know, because I don't like socks coming halfway up my calf. Like, that just, I don't know. Especially because I wear a lot of my socks with tights right now, so it's like, you know, I don't want it to be up over the tights very far anyway. So these will be of a similar height for him because he tends to wear shorter socks. So that's what that will be. And then after that, assuming that I don't finish those in record time, which I don't think I will, after that we will be into the next set of patterns, which are cable patterns. And the first one of that set that I have picked out is the zigzagular socks. Which I feel like are one of those socks that like everyone has knit. You know, I see people knitting those all the time, and I've never knit them. So I'm really excited to try them out, and I'm going to be using this yarn that was sent to me by Erin of Holland Handmade, and it's this, it's an opal yarn, and it's, you know, kind of fun, like rainbowy colors, and I feel like it kind of, I mean, it doesn't look like the yarn that's used in the pattern picture, but it kind of makes me think of that. Like, I feel like the zigzagular socks can work with stripy yarns, so I'm going to be using that, and I think that will be very fun. And the zigzagular sock pattern is a free pattern, and it is by Susie White. And similar to what I did for the ribbed sock patterns, when I start the new Knitalong thread for the cable socks, I will make sure to post links to all of the patterns that I will be using, as well as maybe other patterns that I have, like, that I like and I had picked out but just didn't have room for in the 2 months. So I will be sure to post lots of like inspiration patterns if you want to do cabled socks but you don't necessarily know what would fit with the pattern scheme. Yeah, I need a drink of water. It's very dry in our apartment right now because it has finally gotten cold here, and so we've had the heat running all the time, which makes the air super dry, and so I just feel as though I'm just like drying out from the inside out, like I'm just all the time. So anyway, that's what's coming up, and I guess that leads us right into Knitalong news. So yeah, so the ribbed Knitalong is drawing to a close. As of when I'm recording this, we're halfway through February, so only 2 weeks left. Still plenty of time to get a pair of socks knit if you want to join in. I will, of course, post a link to the thread that has all the rules and everything. But, I mean, it can be as simple as a pair of 2x2 ribbed socks or a pair of blueberry waffle socks. They don't have to be complicated. They just have to be adult-sized and incorporate a ribbed pattern throughout the sock, not just in the cuff. And, of course, there's other rules, too. But yeah, so definitely if you have socks that fit those rules, chuck them into the FO thread. I think we have a decent amount of entries now, so that's awesome. I'm super excited about that. I showed the prizes last week, or part of the prize last week, so I will not show that again. I will show this. So I decided to also include mini skeins from all of the socks that I knit in this like chunk of time as part of the prize. And I actually was able to get at least 2 mini skeins from each of the yarns. So there will be, like, each cycle I will do this as part of the prize, and then I'm saving 1 of the mini skeins for the end as part of like a big prize at the very end, like 50 mini skeins. So yeah, so these are the ones so far that I've wound up. It was actually really fun. I had never wound mini skeins before, so this was a lot of fun for me. But yeah, these are the ones so far, and there will be at least 1 more added to that. So yeah, woot. As well as other things that I just haven't picked out yet. But yeah, awesome, super fun. And then that brings me to the other giveaway that I mentioned. So I, over the past week, passed 500 subscribers on YouTube, so that's super exciting. I'm not normally one of those people who, like I've mentioned this before, I don't really get into the numbers or anything, and I don't tend to be like, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel and, you know, all of that, because I'm just not that kind of a person. But it still like makes me really excited, you know, to hit kind of those milestones like that. So I wanted to do kind of not a flash giveaway, but, you know, a 500 subscribers giveaway for that. And as the prize for that, it's small, but I have these 2 skeins of Regia that were sent to me by a viewer. And she said I could show these, and her Ravelry ID is towel and washcloth, and she said that these were passed along to her when a member of her knitting group passed away and kind of, I guess, willed her stash to the group. So she said these were part of the stash, and how fun are they? It's like these super bright, like fun rainbow colors, which to me just kind of, in a way, they scream spring because they're very bright, but they also could be great for fall. Like you know, like they're kind of darker, like rainbow colors, so I feel like they could be really good for fall as well. But anyway, it's 2 50-gram balls, so enough for a pair of socks, and I wanted to pass these along to, you know, you guys, because you guys have been, you know, here for me, and I love the communication and everything, and I love the involvement, and so I wanted to pass that along. So how do you enter? Because I didn't want to do it as something like on Ravelry, and I didn't want to do it as something on YouTube, because both of those are a little bit too like exclusive in that, like, if you want to comment on something on YouTube, I'm pretty sure you have to have an account. And same way with Ravelry, if you want to comment on something on Ravelry, you have to have a Ravelry account. And I'm sure that not everyone who watches this has one of those, you know, accounts. And I don't want to make it, you know, inaccessible to people who just don't want to have those accounts. So the way that you enter is you go to my blog post, and of course I will link to the specific blog post. Well, on YouTube it'll already be linked, but on Ravelry I'll make sure to link directly to the blog post so that you can just click on a link and go right there. And in the blog post there will be a form that you fill out, and it will just ask for your name, and like, you don't have to put your full name if you don't feel comfortable with that. Just a first name and a last initial is fine. And I think it wants your email address, which I do need, because I do need a way to get in contact with you if you win. So it'll be your name, your email address, and then just a little drop down thing where I'm just curious as to like how you found me, you know, so like, did you find me, like, was the video suggested on YouTube? Was it, did you stumble upon the group in Ravelry, or did you stumble here because another podcaster recommended me? Whatever. It's just basically so that there's one more thing you have to do. And then you just hit submit, and that will just put everything into a Google Doc, and that way it just compiles all of it, and I will just use a random number generator to grab one of the entries, and I'll announce the winner in the next episode. So you will have until, let's say, midnight next Saturday to enter, because I record on Sundays. So that will be midnight on, I need to grab a calendar, midnight on Saturday, February 20th. And then I will draw the winner next Sunday morning and announce it next Sunday. So it's a pretty short time scale, but you don't really have to do anything. You just have to go to the blog and fill out that form, and that's it. So yeah, do that, and thank you, Jessamine, I think that's how you pronounce your name. Thank you for sending me those, and thank you for, you know, letting me pass on the kindness to one of you guys. So yeah, that's that. And I think that's about it for the knitting stuff. I feel like I don't really have a lot to talk about for knitting stuff, but that's just because I haven't gotten a lot of knitting done. And it's just, I've been busy and just not, you know, everyone has those weeks where they're just not feeling the knitting. And of course, I'll explain more in the chit chat why I've been so busy. But anyway, I did want to answer this question about my tattoo. So this was asked by Lisa Marie on YouTube. And the first question she asked was, one of the questions she asked was, did I knit the cardigan that I was wearing in my video last week? And no, I did not. I have never knit a sweater. The sweater that you saw last week, I bought at Target. It is super cute. I love it. It's got like lots of bright colors and it's got some like eyelet detailing and stuff on it. And I really love it. I do not have the patience to knit something like that. So no, I did not knit the cardigan that I was wearing last week. But then she also asked if I could talk about my tattoo. Which of course you can't see today, but I do have a tattoo on my chest, which is normally pretty visible. And don't worry, this is a tank top that I'm wearing underneath my shirt so that I can show this. But anyway, so this is my tattoo. And this is not my only tattoo. I am covered in tattoos. You just can't see them most of the time. Like I have them on my back. I have one on my arm that I can easily show. That's a little, of course it's a weird angle, but it's a little ladybug on my arm. But this one and this one are the only two that are visible most of the time. I have them on my legs, I have them on my back, I have a big one on my side right here, and I just need to get more money before I can get more. But anyway, so she asked about this one, and I feel like it's particularly appropriate given that last Wednesday was Ash Wednesday, so it's Lent, and this is obviously a religious tattoo, so yeah, I will talk a little bit about kind of where that came from and what inspired that. And I don't talk much about religion or politics, of course. Not just on like YouTube and my blog and stuff, but like in general in my life, I don't like to talk about these things unless it's like with Wesley, because people get angry about it. And like, I don't understand why. Like, I don't understand why people can't have adult conversations about like religion and politics, because it's like, just because you don't agree with someone doesn't mean that you can't have a discussion about it. Like Wesley and I, we don't agree on everything. But we can have adult discussions about it, respectful adult discussions, you know, that don't devolve into arguing or like name calling or anything like that. So I don't understand why people can't do that, but people can't do that, so I don't talk about it. So I would ask that, you know, regardless of what your personal opinions are on the matter, this is my opinion and this is where I'm coming from in my experience, and you don't have to agree with it, but you also don't have to be mean about it if you don't agree with it. So yeah, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it, basically. So anyway, I guess I will scooch a little bit closer so that you can see this and cut out my face. But anyway, so this is what the tattoo looks like. And it says, "Give me strength" on it. And it's just a cross. And I got this, I think I got this when I was in undergrad. I don't remember exactly. The tattoo itself was done at a tattoo place in Minneapolis, Minnesota, that actually a friend of mine worked there, and she has done a couple of my other tattoos, but this wasn't done by her. But I knew of the shop because of her. And it was really interesting because like some of my tattoos I have come in with a very clear picture of like, this is what I want done. And like, you know, sometimes a photograph or something like that. This one I didn't. Like, I knew what I wanted. Like, I knew the basics of it, but I didn't really, like, I'm not an artist. I'm not artsy at all. So, like, I couldn't draw something like this. So, you know, I kind of was like, this is what I want, and I told the tattoo artist that, and then he drew this up, and it was so much more beautiful than anything I could have come up with, which is great because, you know, with it being on my chest, it's very visible a lot of the time. So I'm glad that it was so well done. And I think that's really a sign of like a real like artist, which is not to say that someone can't do good tattoos if they're not like a real, like a good artist. But it's great when you can find someone who's both. And then he left and went to like a different shop, and I never could find him again. And I was like, oh man. Anyway, so where this tattoo came from. So I was raised Catholic, and I don't necessarily call myself Catholic anymore just because I don't go to church, I don't practice or anything. And my viewpoint now, you know, as I've gotten older and I've kind of learned more about like where I stand in the world and stuff like that, I just don't always agree with the Catholic Church on everything, and you know, that's just me. It is what it is. And so, but I do find the gospel to be an interesting sort of tale for morality and stuff like that. So where this tattoo came from is the story of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. And if you don't know about the Bible at all, basically, you know, Jesus was betrayed by Judas in the garden. And so he went to the garden before his betrayal because he knew that was coming. And he was there and he was praying with his disciples and everything. And then Judas came and betrayed him. And then the whole like Easter story happens. But anyway, so this is where it comes from. I'm just going to read a couple verses and then I'll talk a little bit about it. So, and this is from the Gospel of Matthew, and this is the New International Version. So it says, going a little further, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. "Couldn't you men keep watch with me for 1 hour?" he asked Peter. "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away a second time and prayed, "My Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done." So that's where this came from, is that basically, you know, he knew that this horrible trial was coming to him, and he knew that this was going to happen. And, you know, he does kind of ask, like, can I not do this, please? Like, that would be great. But it isn't really so much about, you know, asking that. It's more so that, okay, I trust you. You're gonna, you know, this is what you want done, so this is what will be done. And so for me, it's kind of about, like, if I don't like to think about, like, asking, you know, the higher power, the universe, great flying spaghetti monster, whatever you want to do. I don't think it's a good idea to be like, I don't want to do this, so can you make this not happen? And of course, we always do that as people because, you know, we don't necessarily want things to be hard. But I think sometimes it's more about saying, okay, this is going to happen, and I recognize that. Please help me to deal with it better. You know, help me to find the strength to get through this trial. Help me to, you know, be stronger, be better, you know, grow from this and all of that. So that's where this comes from, is it's more so saying, okay, I recognize that there's some sort of higher order or plan here. Help me get through it. Help me to grow from this and become a better person from it. So that's where that comes from. And maybe as it gets warmer, maybe I will be able to show more of my tattoos. It's tough because, like I said, a lot of them aren't visible most of the time because they are, you know, in places where I normally wear clothes. So probably as it gets warmer in the summer and I'm wearing, you know, like tank tops or something, I will show them as my clothing permits. Obviously there are some that are very hard to show. Like the one on my side here is much tougher because, like, it's right there. So I don't wear any clothing that necessarily puts that on display, but we'll see. Maybe when it gets a little bit warmer. Like right now, I thought about like taking this off and just wearing the tank top to show you some of the other ones, but it is so cold in here that I just don't wanna. So maybe towards summer, we'll be able to do more of that. Anyway, so that's about my tattoo, and let's talk about some chit-chatty stuff. So I guess I forgot to say at the end of the knitting stuff, if you were only here for knitting, that was it. Again, if you don't care about hearing about my past week, that's all I got for you, and thank you for hanging out with me for about a half hour. If you do want to hear about my past week, let's keep going. And I need more water, because like I said, it is so dry here. So yeah. I think I mentioned last week that I thought I had some kind of like weird illness, something going on, and I was feeling better this past week, so I definitely recovered from whatever was going on, whatever weird funk I was in. And then, yeah, it was just kind of a pretty normal week at work. I'm trying to even think about what I did. It was busy. Like, it's just, I look back at the days and I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I even do? I did manage to get some packages in the mail. That's not work related, but I did get some packages in the mail. So some people will be getting packages from me this week. And I got a couple of postcards from people over the past week or two that I finally replied to. And that's so much fun. I love getting postcards. I usually try and mention this at the beginning, but I do have my P.O. Box address in the blog. Under the contact tab, it has my P.O. Box address. So if you want to send me like postcards or letters or something, I love getting that kind of stuff. And I will totally reply because that's super fun. I love snail mail and it's the best. So yeah, so I did that, and I'm trying to think. We had our first faculty meeting on Friday. Those of you who maybe are new, like as of this episode, what I do for work is I work at Virginia Commonwealth University. I'm an instructor in the physics department, and I just started like this semester, so this is my first semester doing it. And so we had our first faculty meeting, which was a little bit boring because like they talked about a lot of like budget stuff, and it's something that I have no power over, and so it is kind of just boring to me because it's like, well, there's nothing I can do about that, so okay, either I have money to spend or I don't, you know, like. But it was really interesting because I got to meet this, she's in the dean's office now. I think she's like the assistant dean or something. But everyone keeps telling me that I remind them of her so much because she used to be in the physics department and then she moved into the dean's office. And so everyone's like, oh my gosh, you remind me so much of her. And I had never met her. So I was like, oh, okay. And it turns out most of the resemblance, I think, is just physical because she, again, is a tall, blonde woman who's fairly, got a fairly thin frame. So it's mostly just that we kind of look like each other, but I also can see like the personality similarities because she definitely tells it like it is. Like she has no problem just telling the truth. And I'm kind of like that too. Like I'm not blunt to the point of being offensive, but I tell it like it is. Like I don't like to pull punches or anything. So it was interesting getting to meet her and be like, yep, I see it now. I definitely understand what people are saying. So that was fun. And then I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, so there was the big announcement of the gravitational waves. That was on Thursday, I think. I don't know how many of you guys have heard about that, but gravitational waves are kind of a big deal, like being able to detect them. So they finally detected them at the LIGO detector, which is kind of really awesome because it really, like anytime, you know, theorists come up with some sort of prediction, you know, of course you want to test it because if you don't have any either evidence for or against it, it's just theory. It's just math on paper. And that's not to say that you will never be able to test it. Like if you look at these gravitational waves, it took almost 100 years before we were able to get anything about them. But it's always great to be able to either validate a theory by saying, yes, we have physical evidence that at least validates it, you know, for now, or no, we've seen physical evidence that directly contradicts it, no good. So that's always a really great thing in science. So having these gravitational waves be detected was a super big deal. And it's really cool because we actually have one of the professors in the department does like this kind of stuff. He's a theorist who does this kind of stuff. And he was on the evening news of like the local CBS, I think, news channel or whatever, talking a little bit about it. So I will make sure to link to that video in the description below. He's the old guy wearing the cowboy hat talking about physics, and that's my boss. So yeah, just when you thought all physicists were boring, no. Some of us wear cowboy hats, some of us have tattoos. We're just like everyone else. So that was kind of cool. And then, so then yeah, this weekend has just been busier than normal. When we first got here and I was, you know, looking for a job, I had applied for a job at a place, like a tutoring place, a tutoring and nannies place, and wound up like getting the job, but I didn't take the job because it was not going to pay enough. And now I'm, you know, of course, thankful that I didn't take it. But they, you know, after I kind of told them, yeah, I just don't think this is going to work out, they did come back and say, well, we would love to have another, you know, science and math tutor. Would you like to be on as a tutor? And I was like, yeah, sure, you know. And I hadn't gotten a lot of tutoring from them. Like I think before I got the job at the university, I had maybe only worked like 2 hours worth of tutoring. So it was not like it was, you know, bringing in significant money, but you know, it's kind of a nice side hustle. And so now they have a couple of students who needed tutoring for AP Physics. So I've been doing that. I met with one student yesterday in kind of this area of, so I live in Richmond, Virginia, and he lives up in Glen Allen, which is like one of the suburbs. And so I drove up there yesterday and met with him, and then I'm meeting with him again today, and then another student right after that, somewhere else nearby. So, it definitely makes things busier because, it's a lot of extra driving that I have to do because to get from our apartment to Glen Allen is about a half hour. So it's a, decent amount of extra driving and all of that. And it's, of course, time, that I put out. But at the same time, like, it pays fairly well, like, for an hour of tutoring. And I kind of look at that money as like responsibility free, fun money because, like with my salary, that gets used to pay the bills and buy us food and all of that stuff. Whereas this money is just for me. I can use it for whatever I want to use it for. So like these couple of, students that I'm seeing right now, I'm like, you know what? Once I get enough money, I'm buying myself a new pair of headphones because I've been wanting a pair of Bluetooth headphones so that I can listen to like music at work without disturbing anyone else. So, it kind of is a nice little motivation when I'm like, oh, I don't want to go do this on the weekend. It's like, nope, but you want those headphones. So things like that. So that's kind of been interesting. And it's fun. I mean, I enjoy tutoring. I obviously enjoy teaching and stuff. So, it's good. It's good also to keep those skills like in good exercise so that I can keep doing it, whenever the opportunity arises. So yeah, so that's been happening this weekend, and it just makes things a little bit busier, but at the same time, like, it helps me to have like some structure in my day, because like this afternoon, I know that I have to be at this person's house by like 1, which means that I have to leave here, earlier than that, obviously. So it means, okay, I have to get this done early in the morning, which means that then I don't wait too long and I'm not rushed to do it at the end of the day, things like that. So it is good. So yeah, that's been this weekend. And like I said, I'm going to try and upload this by Tuesday just because I've realized a lot of other podcasters post on Wednesday, and it doesn't really matter, but like I feel like that's got to be kind of, like a lot. Like if you subscribe to multiple podcasters who all podcast on the same day, it's got to be like, whoa. So I'd rather just like stagger it a little bit. Plus, because I record on Sunday, that then cuts down on the amount of time between when I record and when I post, so there's not quite such a lag. And there's no reason why I can't. Like I said, I record ahead of time, so if I get the video edited and uploaded Sunday night, there's no reason I can't post it on Tuesday instead of Wednesday. I would do it Monday, but I'm not always that on top of things, and I don't trust myself to be that on top of things on a weekly basis. So Tuesday gives me just a little bit of wiggle room. But I don't need as much wiggle room as Wednesday. So yeah, I think that's about it. I was hoping I'd have my Warby Parker like frames to try on by this episode so I could, ask for people's opinion, but they haven't arrived yet. I just realized I didn't do a question of the week. That's okay. I guess the question of the week gets wrapped up into like the giveaway kind of thing. So yeah, I guess that's it. This is kind of a shorter episode, but I guess that's okay. I know some people prefer like the shorter podcasts because it's easier to watch. I know sometimes I do, like a lot of the podcasters I watch are over an hour and it can get very long. And so like some of those I watch at like 1.5 speed or something, which is nice because it condenses it into much shorter time, but of course it speeds up the speed that people are talking at. And I keep thinking I should try and like watch one of my videos at that speed and see just how ridiculous I sound, because I already talk fast, and so I have to imagine that if you speed it up, it's just going to sound really funny. But I kind of just, I don't want to because I'm afraid that I will just, become totally self-conscious after that. But so anyway, so I'll keep it short enough that you don't have to do that. But yeah, I guess that's going to be it. Again, happy Valentine's Day, and I'll see you guys next week. Be sure to follow that link to the blog post and enter the 500 subscriber giveaway. And yeah, keep on knitting socks. Bye.